Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Closed Traffic Podcast. Johnny's going to kill me. I just realized I ran the old intro.
Hey, you
I
did the
didn't.
last time too, but I didn't
I
say
did the
nothing.
last time too, didn't I? But I caught it and then reran it just before. So we went with it. Johnny, that's what you get for not being here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome back to the Closed Traffic Podcast. Charlie, man, how are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm good, bro. I'm good. Just trying to stay cool.
Stay cool, man. That heat is killing you all over there, I heard.
Bro, it's been last couple days has been nice. Mornings have been like the the upper 60s. So that's been like a taste of fall, and then in the afternoon it's like
psych.
96, 98. I think it's supposed to be 98 today. So
interesting. Well,
it's hot, man. How about you, bro?
It's been pretty hot here as well, as Logan can attest to. We got the West Coast dry heat is what they call it, but it does. There you go.
I'm outnumbered today,
Kendrick.
Nothing but love, brother. Nothing but love.
But it's still hot. I don't care what anybody says. You don't have humidity. No, it's still hot. Especially
100 degrees is still a freaking 100 degrees.
Exactly. I keep telling people that. Anyways, Logan is a new face, obviously, here to the Closed Traffic Podcast. We want to give Logan a very warm and first welcome to the show. Logan, say hello to the people, man.
How we doing, everybody? Appreciate you guys having me. Mike, Charlie, I love what you're doing with the show. And thanks for giving me this opportunity. Charlie, I have to ask you, did you by chance get any of the side effects from the hurricane, or is everything okay?
We did not. Now Johnny did. He lives in Texas, so he got a little bit of rain, but we haven't had anything in Georgia.
That's good.
That's good.
It's good, but it's bad because we actually need some rain. I think we're running like 4.
Oh, you're not getting rain either,
bro. We've had maybe a half of inch in two and a half months.
Wow. That's strange for where you are in that part of the country.
It is. It's a abnormally dry here. So
that's not good.
Huh. That isn't good.
It is like grass burn up. I mean,
wow.
Oh yeah, dude, it's bad. Especially when you're a cattle farmer, it's stressful trying to find grass for cows to eat. So
that's right. I didn't even think of that. That's no good. Hopefully, you guys get some rain here soon.
Oh yeah,
some summertime rain. Cool, man. Logan, so we had the pleasure of meeting at the Flight Sim Expo 2024 in Las Vegas. Our previous show, we recapped it at a high level, but it's good to have you on because you'll provide a different perspective as well as it relates to what you get. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, sometimes we can't trust what Mike says.
I came back and gave everyone an update and they didn't believe me. They're like, "We'll just wait for Logan to come on next week and he'll tell us what really went down." So happy to get your feedback from it. But before we even go into that, man, what we like to do is, first time guests to the show, definitely let folks know sort of, your background, how you got in the aviation, your passion for it, and what keeps you in it. So if you want to just, spend a few moments telling folks, your background and some of the things that brought you to aviation and drives that passion for you.
Absolutely. You said a few moments, so I won't do the long version. But
no, I'm sorry. You have all the time in the world. Let me take that back. We have no time constraints here in the Closed Traffic Podcast, so take as long as you need.
No. We'll keep it short because that could get long and drawn out. So, anyway, long story short, I as a kid, like even 3, 4, as long as I can remember, I've just been fascinated with planes flying over. I grew up in Chicago. And I could see the planes on approach coming into Midway. And so like I would just beg my mom to take me in. This was pre 9/11. So you could go straight to the airport. You could go straight to like there was an area of Midway where you could kind of go to this gate and see both runways and see all the aircraft taxiing around. You could see the private terminal out in the distance. And it was just like the coolest thing ever for me. Ended up, I don't know, maybe around 5 going on a trip to Texas and then going on a trip to Florida to Disney. And like my love for aviation was spawned at that moment of takeoff. And I still get chills coming down my spine, even thinking about just the moment of the miracle of flight, as I like to call it, when it's getting airborne and you're climbing. It's exhilarating. And then I fell in love when they let me go into the cockpit. So long story short, ever since that moment, my life was vectored towards flight and aviation and just loving it. I ended up joining the Air Force out of high school and became, I passed all the tests to become a pilot, like did all the things, except my eyesight was too poor to fly. So at the time, I had glasses. So now, but I still wanted to be around aircraft and just, just be as close as I could to it. So I became an air traffic controller for the Air Force, and did that for 12 years.
Wow.
First assignment was Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska. Got to work with C-17s, C-130s, F-15s, Charlies and Echoes, and then the E-3, which I was very cool. And then I was able to get the first squadron of F-22s when they first came to Alaska.
Wow.
After that, went to Little Rock Air Force Base, got to work with the largest C-130 base in the world. Came to Edwards, California, where it absolutely changed my life. Had the privilege and opportunity to work with some never-before-seen aircraft, some experimental aircraft. Got to control the shuttle, Arrival from space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We got to go in a little bit detail as much as you can share, obviously,
Sure.
classified or not classified, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. That's pretty cool.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I've had some very cool experiences with the Air Force. That of course being one of the highlights.
I'm sure.
Like even not just military aircraft, because Edwards is such a kind of a wacky base. Our longest runway is 5 miles long. It's a dry lake bed runway, but it's 5 miles. So, our longest hard surface runway is 12,000 feet. But we were able to help out other companies like Boeing. We did brake testing with Boeing. We did tail scraping testing with Boeing. We did GE versus Pratt & Whitney testing with Boeing, so they could test, on a long surface out in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and test those aircraft, hot brake testing, all these things, which was super fun. Like, honestly,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. Ended up going to Iraq twice, which was a different kind of fun, but, stressful and crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I'm sure.
Yeah. Went to Iraq twice for 6 months and then came back. Went to Korea. Where was I in Korea? Osan. Was at Osan. Got to work with the U-2. Got to work with F-16s, A-10s.
That's my plane.
Yeah, A-10.
Yeah, A-10. I don't know why. That's just one of my favorites.
It's super cool. It's old as sin, but
it is. It still works, man.
Yeah.
It's like an old mule.
Yeah,
keeps going.
And then my last assignment with the Air Force, I left in March 2016. I worked in Chevres, Belgium, which it was actually a personal airport for the Supreme Allied Forces Commander's airplane. Wow. So it was the NATO commander, which was very cool in and of itself.
Jeez, I'm sure.
And now I moved to LA to pursue my dream of working in live television events. And now I'm very fortunate to have, directed and been a part of the production team for some very cool events like Super Bowl and World Series. And,
nice.
I just did the French Open this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So just some really, really cool events. I've been doing that for almost 10 years. And now on to my next adventure. My wife and I are getting ready to move to, we're prepping to move to Vegas to open a combat-themed dogfighting or experience-based combat dogfighting simulator. So we're going to have 10 simulators networked together where you can dogfight against your buddies. And like see who's the top dog, shoot some approaches, whatever you want to do for 30 minutes, rent it for an hour. And then the idea is we're going to have like a bar as well. So after you
nice.
fly, responsible flying, right? Have some drinks and talk shit with your buddies. So
there you go.
That's awesome.
Right in
That's really
Las
cool.
Vegas.
So, gosh, there's a lot to unpack there.
Man, where do you start?
We're gonna get to that. Would be called Afterburner, I assume.
Afterburner, yes, sir.
Yep, we're definitely gonna get to AfterburnerX in a minute. I want to take you back to your days in the Air Force, obviously as an air traffic controller. Obviously, it's the Air Force, so I'm sure there are things you can say and cannot say publicly, but you said you had a bunch of really cool experiences and highlights to your career while doing that. What would you say the top one is?
Oh my God. Oh, you put me on the spot.
I know it's hard. I'm sure it's hard to pick.
Yeah. Weirdly, something is sticking out in my head, and it's the first time I saw, and I didn't even control this. The first time I saw a B-2 depart, it just took my breath away. How cool that, like, how the Delta wing is actually real and it can fly. It's been flying. I was like, holy shit, this is so funny.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's cool. Talk to us about what is it like. Like,
I mean,
it's funny because
I have some better stories. That one's just kind of personal.
No, that's fine.
Obviously, the shuttle is.
Yes, I was gonna ask, what is that like controlling it from the approach from space? Like, what does that look like?
So it is. Edwards is. Let me take a step back. Edwards is the first alternate base to the Cape if anything can happen, and obviously Florida has weather. That's just the nature of the beast. Whereas Edwards does not have weather,
right?
And every shuttle pilot and commander has to get a certain amount of proficiency at all of the alternative airports. So there's like one in Madrid, there's one in Australia, there's one in like I think Keflavik, Ireland. Like there's
interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple strategically placed throughout the world. Now, if they can, they will leave it. They will leave the shuttle in the air or in space, as it were, longer, so they can try to keep it in the United States. Because it's never like, as far as my recollection, I don't think it's ever landed outside of the United States. It's always landed either at the first alternate or at the primary landing site.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's important to them because it's in such a crazy expensive asset. Also, the shuttle, I don't know if you guys have seen one. It's smaller than a 727. It's pretty small.
Yeah, but I was shocked how small it was. They had one at what museum do we have here in LA, Logan? They just moved it out. But yeah, the California Science Center.
Yeah.
Was it Discovery that was there?
I think so. Question mark?
One of those, but you're right. It is like I thought it was going to be so like much more.
747.
Yeah,
big honking thing.
No, interesting.
But so the moment they launch, all of the alternate bases are on alert, and so there are windows for when it could possibly come back. And depending on the orbit and the orbit cycle, everybody is just in conference calls with the Cape, with NASA. So Edwards also has a offshoot or an arm at Edwards where they have their own base at Air Force Base. At the time, it was called Dryden. Now it is Armstrong. They renamed it after Neil.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But basically all of the support facilities that they could ever want is there at Dryden, and so it's like landing at home. The astronauts are familiar with it. Yeah, it's the same team, so for lack of a better term. So we're all on alert every day that the shuttle is in orbit, and when it starts to get to the end of the mission, so my mission was STS-126, I believe. That was the one that sported the it was the last servicing mission of the Hubble telescope. And when the window opened for it to arrive, like, you are on call, or someone is on call, like 24/7, to make sure that if it needs to land, it lands and there's no issues. From a controlling standpoint, it's actually kind of one of the more simpler things that we've done. Because what we do is we, sterilize the Class B, the Class D, the Class A, everything. Basically everything in Southern California, from the mountains, well, more or less, let's see, because it comes over Hawaii and LA, and then it kind of makes that loop around. We don't sterilize LAX, Santa Barbara, anything like that, but basically anything. If anyone is familiar with LA, the mountains entering the valley, so we don't allow arrivals at
so Burbank, Van Nuys,
Nuys,
that's
correct.
all locked. Got it.
Palmdale, all of that sterilized, TFRs, the whole 9 yards.
Because Edwards is just over the mountains to the north of that airspace.
Yes, and and so after that, like, for maybe 30-45 minutes before the arrival, and then as soon as it touches down, we pull the TFRs. But so basically we sterilize it and clear it for NASA to do whatever they need to do.
Got it.
And basically that just consists of making sure there's nobody in the airspace, making sure that center doesn't have anybody routed through there at any altitude, which their sport and center, they're all used to this kind of rigmarole with the shuttle when the program was up. Like, it's how many launches did they do? Like 8 a year, something like that. So
man, I miss them. I'm just being honest. I always watch them things.
Same.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
I understand why they wanted to use the Orion and all those other capsules, but like there's
nothing like a Discovery going off at the Cape.
Yeah. So
have you seen a launch in person?
No.
Me neither.
Oh man, I wish. Oh my, that was on the bucket list, sadly.
Yeah, I seen one little. I lived in Orlando for a little bit, and they launched. It wasn't the shuttle, but it was something else that they sent up. I think it may have been going to Mars or somewhere.
Oh, cool.
But Orlando's pretty far from the Cape, but man, you could still hear and see that sucker when it took off. It's like 75 miles away. Like, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's the same whenever they launch Starlink out of where the heck is that?
Galveston.
Or
no, Vandenberg.
Vandenberg. I'm in Rancho Cucamonga, and you can see that freaking thing. And that's gotta be 100 plus miles away. At least
Santa Barbara is a schlep. Santa Barbara's I mean, it's about 2.5, 3 from my house, and I live in Burbank area.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's crazy.
You're looking north of 200. Yeah, so it just shows the power and the magnitude, and just how awe-inspiring these freaking things are. It's just amazing.
I read something on the gram, so take it for what it is.
100% true.
Right. Let's close it off. We're good.
If it's not on the internet, it's not true.
Exactly.
Starlink was the size of like 5 Empire State Buildings or something like that, or maybe it was Statue of Liberties. But that feels more plausible.
Dang,
but either
that's
way,
crazy.
You know what? That's probably not far off.
Like, I don't know.
Massive. Yeah, on TV, it doesn't look very big. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's about right.
Really?
At least that's what it says here, but this is also the internet. That's interesting. Cool. All right, so that's how the navigating and bringing in. So are the
let me add one more piece if I could to that.
Of course.
So basically, please forgive me. I don't know how much you guys already know about the shuttle, but basically,
very little, at least for me.
Yeah, computers fly the whole damn thing until they get to about. I forgive my memory because it's been forever, but it's like 10 to 15 miles out.
That's it.
And then the pilot takes over.
Yeah,
and
he puts it into the flare and literally tries to get that thing slowed down enough to put it on the runway.
But computers fly it from space into Earth's atmosphere, and until like engines are completely off. It is a glider. It has no power.
The entire time.
Well, there's controlled burns to get it out of space.
Right.
The correct vector, but after it enters the atmosphere, like once it's in the LA airspace, that's when the pilot starts to take over. And
it's crazy.
Yo, that is nuts.
Yeah.
And I could see why, if it has no power, you need the computer, because you need precise calculations based on wind, weather, atmospheric conditions to really get you on that vector.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I remember reading something. Don't quote me on this, but it was like when they enter the atmosphere. You're quoting me.
Charlie,
what is it like? They're shooting for a target that's the thickness of a piece of paper from 100 miles away, trying to get back into the Earth atmosphere.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like the tolerances are that thin, because if you're just a little bit above that, boom, you're back in space and you're not coming back. Or you're below that and you're burnt up. Like it's like razor thin margins they're trying to hit entering Earth atmosphere.
That's so freaking cool.
Like I wouldn't want nothing but a computer trying to do that. Hit the flight stick, take a sneeze, it's all over.
But if you think about it, that
Charlie, gone to glory.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about
amazing.
that the shuttle program started in what, 83, 84, 85, something like that?
Yeah.
So that was 70s technology that put it into space, because it's not like 85 cutting edge technology. They have to perfect it and have it ready to go. That's like 1970s computers calculating that razor thin, like.
That's amazing. And that's what always, like, there's many fascinating things about space travel, but like what's always stuck out to me was we've been doing this since the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Like, that is nuts to me.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all you space fans out there. If you love space, check out a television show. I know it's on Apple TV Plus. I know nobody has Apple TV Plus, but that's besides the point.
I do.
For All Mankind.
Yes.
Please watch it. I'll give you a very high-end summary of it. Basically, the premise is, what if the Soviet Union was the first to space and we were second? How does that change every
course of humanity?
Yeah, it is. I love it. Love. Highly recommend check it out. Any space aviation. Highly recommend.
And wow, there's 4 seasons of it.
It's good. It's great. There's so many twists and turns. Like, the U.S. is on the back foot, but like they're like, no, we're determined to get on the front. Oh, it's so good.
That's freaking awesome. I'll have to check it out.
For All Mankind.
Definitely check it out, man. So that's awesome. So just a quick recap for the audience, right? You felt, and that's the same way I fell in love with aviation, right? Seeing the airplanes. Yeah. Seeing the airplanes. Yeah. I traveled a lot back and forth between America and Jamaica. First generation American. My family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone is from the island of Jamaica. So growing up, we always went back, and I remember falling in love with aviation and air travel, airplanes specifically, in that same way. Getting on that first airplane, the feeling of taking off, being able to go and visit the cockpit. So fell in love with aviation the very same way. I can relate. Really cool that you were able to take your passion and love for actually, wanting to go and fly, and not letting, the eyesight or the medical factors deter you from actually pursuing it in a different avenue. And you were able to, let's be honest, sure, there's nothing like actually being a pilot and being able to fly the airplanes, but what you went and did is probably far cooler.
I would say so too, than being in the cockpit. That's what I was thinking.
You probably would have ended up flying some really cool missions for the Air Force. I won't take that away from you,
Sure.
but gosh, man, you lived it up in another way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's to be a part of that stuff, be a part of those historic events. I mean, that's really, really cool.
Yeah. I've been
things
very
that,
fortunate
everyday people do not get to see, experience, be a part of. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really
I've been
cool.
very fortunate. I've been right place, right time, and then just also, work hard and good things happen. I'm a big proponent of, you work your butt off and you know what? Surprisingly, magically, good things happen,
Put the work in. That's true, man. So we'll get back to aviation in a second.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk a little bit about your experience, because this also fascinates me. Your experience working these events from a production and director standpoint, because I think that's also really cool, and that's also another area that folks don't get to experience all that much.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more detail about? I was gonna say, I was gonna say, I can't see you sitting down in an office filling out paperwork and
pushing insurance claims.
You clearly strive for a level of high intensity,
high workloads
scenarios.
Stress will kill me, but I love me and stress are best friends.
So what is it like? What's your day to day, or when you're doing not even necessarily your day to day? What is it like working these actual events? What's your specific role, if you're able to share that?
Yeah, of course. So it's not unlike air traffic in the way that there are, in air traffic, broad air traffic theory, you can't think of them as this aircraft has 5 lives. This aircraft has 320 lives. This aircraft has 10 lives, and one of them is the president. Like, you can't think of it like that. You have to think of it as, we're just keeping these objects away from each other, and it's the same thing we do all day, every day. You know what I mean? And that's, we treat the vice president the same way as we treat, this general aviation, 172. So, transferring that over to television, I direct events with, sometimes 20, sometimes 60, sometimes, 5 cameras, depending on, hey, I'm doing high school football this weekend, and there's 5 cameras for high school football. There's all of these cameras, there's all of these things that need to happen, whether it's graphics, whether it's replays, whether it's taped element packages, whether it's a time to go to a commercial break, whether it's a time to add theme music. All of these things need to happen at an appropriate time, at an appropriate place. I'm just keeping them away from each other so that the viewer can keep an eye on the action or see something, tell the story of the event, really.
Right.
So whether it's, people eating Dodger dogs in Dodger Stadium, or people, like whatever the story is. Like, I remember working one Dodger game, and there was an earthquake, and the players were continuing to play ball as we in the truck, we're in a big double wide production truck, and it's rocking. And we see the camera operators, they're like struggling to hold on to the cameras and keep the shots steady.
I remember that. That was a few years ago.
Yeah, I was a technical producer for that show, and the director was like trying to show how everything was moving and show the viewers at home that there was an earthquake, but like there was no great shots of it. You could see like some trees waving, but it didn't look that thrilling. But we're like rocking in the truck. But so long story short, we what I do is in various capacities on different shows, I choose which cameras that need to be on the air, adding the graphics, adding replays. ensuring that the team of 60, 20, 30, whatever is all on the same page with where we're going in a live environment, what's coming up next, so that our replay operator is ready to roll it at the exact place at the exact time, because we don't have all day. They're going to play ball again, so they need to roll it and show what we need to see, how the umpire got the call wrong. And then I want to see that tight shot of the umpire so we can not slam them, but we can show
so the audience can. You just present it so we can slam them.
Exactly. Or when LeBron flops, and come back to him live and say, like, I don't know, he got me. It was a hard foul. So all of those things, telling the story, making the fan. It's my goal to make the fan feel like they got a better seat than floor seats. You know what I mean? Because you get replays, you get stats, you get all of these other elements. That the
100%.
Yeah, you got the jumbotron up there, but we can really get the tight shots. We got the locker room cameras. We got this. We got that. Yeah. All of these elements. We got the blimp. You know what I mean? Like all of that to really make the viewer feel like they're a part of the broadcast and they have the best seat in the house.
That is awesome. What a way to describe it. That earthquake, by the way, that was 2019. It was a 7.1 earthquake that hit LA that night. It was Dodgers versus Padres. I remember that because they played it over and over again on the news the following day, showing the camera, especially the center field camera, just like shaking.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. You were working at. As you described that, and obviously, air traffic controlling. What stuck out to me was. And we know this, but we don't talk about it as often. Those jobs have a level of non-appreciation for the attention to detail, stress, high workload, and perfection that is required. Because it's one of those things where, like, especially from a television broadcast standpoint, you don't really think about all of the work that's happening behind the scenes to pull that stuff together, right? 100%. As you mentioned, immediately getting a replay of the action that was on the floor and the shots that are required from that replay, and then getting back to the live action without really feeling like you missed a beat. Like that stuff has to happen with such precision, and you don't really think about it unless something goes wrong, right? Yeah. I've watched certain things where I'm like, oh, that felt off. I can't explain why, but it fell off. But that happens very infrequently, which means you guys are doing your jobs to perfection almost day in, day out, minute in, minute out. And that's crazy. There isn't enough recognition for that, I think. And it's the same thing with air traffic control. Sure, on YouTube, and now that we have social media at our fingertips, we see all these close calls, close encounters. Charlie and I were talking about one earlier, that Syracuse action that happened the other day. That was crazy. We can talk about that in a second too. That was nuts. But like, other than that, or outside of those events, who's really thinking about all the work and all the action behind the scenes that air traffic control is doing to ensure a seamless environment for air traffic, especially in these high, traffic environments across the United States. So that's shout out to you all, and you've been a part of two of the, I'm sure, many other areas in folks' career that has those levels of expectations.
Exactly. I was going to say, as somebody who's done a little bit of that, well, I actually helped. It's been 2 or 3 years ago. Our local TV company doing high school football games.
Oh, very cool.
Live.
So
that's right. I remember you were doing that.
We were just some little hodgepodge deal, man. But like, just what went on in that production truck, like he's talking about replay. I thought I was like, don't ever ask me to do it. I'm not doing it because there's too many daggum buttons on that panel. Because you like scrolling the wheel and you got to mash this button and then mash that button to get back to the light. I'm like, hey, how do these people do this? The World Series or the Super Bowl or the Masters
for hours. That's nuts.
Hours. Not to mention the hours it takes to set all the cameras up and run the wiring, and it's nuts.
I have a slightly different perspective, and roll with me on this. I think it is, while yes, it is a live environment similar to air traffic, and like obviously these guys don't nearly get paid enough. Like, you know, as do teachers. I always got a foot stomp for teachers. Like they do God's work, you know, raising
100%.
kids and you know, trying to put them on a good path and trying to teach them when sometimes they don't want to learn. But I liken it to like also an accountant, for example. Like, no one appreciates the accountant when they do their job right. You know what I mean? But the moment they screw up one of those dollars,
that is true.
Your tax guy or gal, you're like, hold on, I was supposed to be getting this amount back. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
That's true.
Yeah. What happened?
Or an electrician. No one appreciates the electrician, the 150 houses that they wire correctly, but let them wire that one house wrong.
That's right. Or that power goes out.
I think everybody, there are a lot
some
more
version of that. No, 100%.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. So I like to spread the love.
I work in IT, so I get it. We fall in that boat as well. No one thanks us for, oh man, you guys did a great job making sure the environments didn't go down during this busy holiday weekend. Great job. No, you hear nothing. But if something happened, oh boy, we're talking about it for weeks.
Banging their doorbell.
What happened? Ringing off the hook.
Weeks. No, I get you. You're right. There's far more than I actually thought about. Yeah. Good shout out. All right. So the really cool background, man. Really cool stuff that you've done and still continue to do. Let's talk about AfterburnerX for a little bit. So first of all, why the move from LA to Vegas? Like why was Vegas the location you guys landed on?
So for AfterburnerX, it feels like while it is kind of the entertainment mecca of the West Coast in a way where, you know, I'm not sure how many of your fans have been to LA, but it's very cool. Love LA. But entertainment wise, it's
doesn't compare to Vegas.
It doesn't compare to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, in the way that like a New York is more akin to a Vegas.
Right.
You know,
That's
with
true.
the shows, with the entertainment, a little something for everybody. Like LA is a little more snooty. So
it's 100%.
to put it mildly. So we loved LA with we loved Vegas with kind of the idea of, you know, there's a military community. There's Nellis Air Force Base there. There's a huge growing population of I think it's 2.2 million people currently living in the greater Las Vegas area, Henderson, etc. And it's also a great transient city. So in terms of visitors coming in, going to conventions, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, just hanging out, where we can get a great demographic hodgepodge. We can introduce everyone to aviation that could be even remotely interested. And, you know, it's not a more pure form like flying a 737 or flying, you know, an A380. But you can kind of get those folks that are maybe a little more video gamey, that are like, hey, I'm familiar with video games. I don't need anything like too overwhelming. And also the idea is to scale up the simulators so that, you know, pro flight simmers, if you will, or professional pilots can actually enjoy the full functionality of the cockpit and fly it just like they would, you know, well, presumably if you know how to fly a fighter.
Right.
So, so the idea is trying to get all of these people together to come together and enjoy the miracle of flight, enjoy the fun of dogfighting, have a little arcade feel, have hey Johnny.
Hey, how's it going?
This guy,
what's up, man?
In like how long?
You guys know I had to dial in real quick.
Hey, can't get here on time, son. Just get here when you can.
It wouldn't be the Closed Traffic Podcast without it, man. But sorry, Logan, go ahead, man. Continue on.
Sorry, I want to make sure Johnny gets as much airtime as possible.
No, he's just here. We don't pay
he's in the background.
But so long story short, we just want to bring everyone, introduce as many people, or kind of reinvigorate that love for flight. And you know, if we can introduce like the idea is to do after school programs and
nice.
get kids to come in during the off season, during the summers, and teach them about flight. Teach them, hey, it's math, it's science, it's and it's fun. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not just,
it's not just the traditional STEM.
Yes, exactly. And introduce it in a dynamic way that is appealing, and we can grow aviation like computer technology has been grown, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really the idea. And to look over and like I shot you, and oh, you got me from behind, that sort of thing. It's so much fun. And we're super excited about the concept.
That is outstanding, man. That's really cool. I can't wait. So what's your timeline for it? What are you guys thinking about it? Timeline wise.
So we are in the process of finding the perfect venue, because let's face it, the Strip is too expensive for where we're starting, but we want to be adjacent to the Strip. We want to be convenient for those folks that are at the convention centers and the locals. So we're trying to find that happy medium,
that balance.
So we're still looking for spaces. However, we're shooting for next July. So July 2025. We're in the process of talking with suppliers and getting the sims built together to specs and networked all together. So we're super excited.
Man, that is going to be really cool. Really cool.
So you guys will have to do a live podcast with us.
Oh, we will be.
Don't worry. Let's go. Drinks on the house.
Equipment it all. And obviously with your background, you can help us set it up and direct it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone say drinks in the house.
we could finally get Johnny and Charlie out to Vegas.
Nice.
Oh goodness.
Silence.
I knew he was gonna say that.
Just bring a bottle of water. You'll be all right.
That'll be all right.
Man, that is awesome. Johnny, man, we were here talking about some really cool stories with, Logan's background as a air traffic controller in the military and a production director and facilitator for major outlets, major sporting events, etc. Some really, really cool stuff that we've been able to hit on so far. Logan has a really, really unique and cool background, man.
He does.
It's
diverse.
Diverse. That's some fun stuff. So while we're on the topic of Vegas, again, we tried to, or I tried to recap the events of a couple of weeks. See, that's why he's rolling his eyes.
Oh, don't do my man like that.
I tried to recap.
Oh man,
the events of a couple of weeks ago at Expo, but as Charlie said, we didn't believe Mike, so we need somebody else who was present to sort of give us a high level recap. So obviously, first of all, was that your first Expo? Your first Expo you attended?
It was so cool. Yeah.
Gotcha. What'd you think overall? And then we can get into some details, but what'd you think overall?
Man, a bajillion degrees in Vegas, but that's besides the point. No, it was really cool. I've never been to a more thought out, like pulled together community-led event, and that was most mind-boggling to me. The amount of friendly faces, the amount of like people giving hugs and dapping each other up, like it was so cool to see. I think I talked to Evan briefly. He said there was they were expecting 2,500, but he said there's a chance that it could creep up to closer to 3,000 to 4,000. He didn't know how many walk-ins.
Wow.
So I don't quote me on those numbers, but he said he was expecting 2,500. So to have that level of
no, we're quoting you. You quoted me earlier.
Nice.
I didn't realize it was that many. He usually sends a recap with the numbers, but I hadn't seen it as of yet. Maybe
really?
I missed it
either.
Yeah, I hope I'm in the ballpark, but just to see
you're probably
that
right,
level
man.
of like community and vendor, like they knew each other, the love was there. Usually, these conventions are put on by a higher organization that is, in charge of the event, and it's very, a little more stuffy. but this was super warm. It was great to have everybody together. It was great to hear. Like, I was even listening to the blind woman, and I God forgive me, I can't remember her name, but she was
Yeah, I know you're talking
controlling
about,
traffic, and she was speaking about her process to
Yeah.
controlling on VATSIM and some of the other platforms. As a visually impaired person, and it was just mind-boggling. All of the different
That's
breakouts,
insane.
and even listening to Mike. I don't know if you got to hear the presenter Wing Wee
Wingwig. Yep.
Wing-wing.
Yep.
and he was like affordably priced. Competitively priced.
Yep.
And so guys, it was hilarious. He was
Yeah.
introducing like some of his new products, and he was like, "This is affordable, not competitive. This is competitively priced. You can't afford it." It was hilarious. I was
His
dying.
entire presentation was hilarious. It was very tastefully done. It kept the audience engaged. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Shout out Wing.
Yeah.
Wing.
Johnny ain't saying nothing, but he'll say that.
Man.
He'll say that. They love some wing.
I will die on that hill, my friend.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh
man.
yeah.
We need to talk
Yeah.
offline about that.
Absolutely.
Let me touch this
I need some recommendations.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you got to get the hardware in. That's true. Wing is probably your best bet, but Johnny's the expert there. He'll let you know.
All right.
No, you're 100%. I think that's the first thing I said to Johnny and Charlie when I got back is I've been to, as part of work and whatnot, and these guys as well have been to conferences for their respective industries, and for something to be geared towards a hobby, right? Calling it for what it is. Yes, there's some professional aspects to it. There's people that actually do it and make a living from it and make money, but primarily geared towards a hobby. It was probably one of the most put together events that I've ever been to. It's and last year was really well done as well, and they just continue to get better year after year. And when you consider the small amount of resources that they have at their disposal to plan this event, it's even more mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Not to mention the last-minute pivot, Mike.
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't even talk about that, right? Because Tropicana pulled a fast one. And
I don't know about fast one. I mean, I think you kind of know a little ahead of time if your building's about to be demolished. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they pulled a fast one on us in the
Right.
event. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they knew. They definitely knew before they signed or had them sign the dotted line. That was nuts, but we won't drag.
They still getting them contracts just in case their contract fell through.
Yeah. Bingo. That's exactly what it was. But yeah, that's a really good point, Johnny. Like, to scramble at the last minute to find a new venue, to reorganize all that stuff, and still draw almost 3,000 people is nuts. And still done tastefully. You couldn't, if you didn't know about the change of venue and some of the things that were happening, you wouldn't have guessed
You would have never known the difference.
It was Rio planned for the last 3 years or something. It's crazy. It's crazy in a good way. I'm saying it's nuts. So yes, you're 100% right. I think that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me as well. Showroom floor. What'd you think about all the showcases, the hardware, the vendors there?
Oh my goodness! Right when you walk in, there was that. I think it was A330, A320. No, it was A320.
The A320 setup.
Yeah, that was full. Like, all
full
the
on.
switches.
Johnny and Charlie, you guys saw last year in Houston, the one where
the one where we stood in line for half a day.
Yeah, half a day.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, vividly.
Yeah, it's super cool. From that to, I think DOF Reality had their motion sim that I got to fly.
Was cool.
Man, that's they. I might be coughing up some money for one of those.
I said the same thing to Charlie. That thing is amazing.
It
was sick.
It was very realistic, and even they were able to tone it down for maybe some of those simmers that don't want to necessarily break your back, but just kind of feel the bump of landing on the runway, or feeling a little turbulence in the air as you're crab walking and you're flying. It's and everything in between, from communication systems. Like I think I downloaded Infinite Flight on my phone. They had an app for flying on like mobily, and it was like there's so anything you could ever want. You got to go. You got to go to Flight Sim 2025, Providence, Rhode Island.
Providence,
go.
Rhode Island.
Johnny's going to be there.
Johnny, you're going, man. I don't want to hear it.
Mike's going to swing by Texas
I was going to say, I'm going to stop over DFW and make sure I'll hit the Metroplex and we're going.
Clandestine operations. I'll wake up and here I am in Providence, Rhode Island.
Eating crab legs.
Yeah, like a bowl of clam chowder or whatever's up there.
Ooh, I ain't thought about the clam chowder now.
I'm telling you, man, that's a really nice place to be at that time of the year.
Yeah.
That'd be hitting up there.
It's nice up there, man.
Yeah,
better than a bajillion degrees in Vegas.
Exactly. They listened. They said,
we love Vegas.
We heard you.
We love Vegas.
We love Vegas. We love Texas. That heat was nasty then too.
Yeah.
And they said, all right, we hear you. No more heat. Providence, Rhode Island. Flying. I'm probably gonna fly into, no pun intended, Logan, and then drive the and then drive the 50 minutes or so to Providence. So that's probably gonna be the wave. But yeah, man, so we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Also, I just want to say, I want to shout out to all those guys. Like I saw so many international people coming from Canada, long distances, Ireland, so many
Singapore.
Singapore, Australia. Like, oh my God, the love and showing up, and not just because it's in my backyard, I'm gonna go. No, we're flying distances. We're putting in some investment into
our trips.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it warms my heart. Like I love y'all so much, man. This is the reason that this is what it is, and it keeps growing.
That's exactly right.
100%. I think it's amazing, and I think obviously I know COVID, unfortunate as it was, had a lot to do with the growth of this hobby. Microsoft Flights,
I was about to say
2024 in general as well
20.
Had a lot to do with the growth of this industry, and it's amazing to see in such a short space of time how vastly it's grown and what's yet to still come. Pretty amazing.
You know what's funny, Mike? I kind of think, because, me and the wife, we were talking about COVID back then. And we all, how we all had the initial impression that 2020 may have just been a little bit rushed on release.
Oh, yeah, of course.
One couldn't help but assume that perhaps discussions were had like, dang, there's a lot of people at the house right now. As unfortunate as that time was for a lot of people. I mean, let's just call the elephant in the room. I don't think that could have been a better of a time for 2020 to drop.
100%. If I recall, it was supposed to drop in the fall of 2020. I think that was the timeline, more or less, like late fall. And when did it actually come out? Was it like March, April? No, it wouldn't have been March. Or was it summer?
It was a surprise. It was definitely a shock. I can't recall the exact time. It was definitely a shock.
August 18th. So
Producer
it dropped.
Charlie, where you at, man? We're supposed to get some.
Hey, we've got a new producer now. I'm off the hook.
I was gonna say we got a new producer now, man.
Hey,
oh my goodness!
Hey, I'm
not trying to get anybody in trouble. Keep me out of it.
Logan was like, I'm not trying to take Charlie's job.
I'm just a janitor boy now.
Oh, dang. Team producers.
Y'all need something to drink.
He did not call us T-Move producers. Oh, speaking of T-Move producers, you're gonna be tight. I ran the old intro when we started instead of the
Oh yeah, no, I heard on the last show. I was listening, and I'm like, whoa, this man! Oh my gosh, my mic went throwback on the last.
Yeah, he did.
I ran. See, the last show, I didn't think anyone caught it. I ran it really quick, and then I ran the proper one. But of course, you caught it. And this time, I ran it again. I'm just like, I'm not going to change it.
But you know what? I couldn't say anything due to my tardiness. So I was like, you know what? Hey, that was just kind of a little reboot. That was totally intended.
One of my mentors, he always tells this story, and he says, Do you know what happens when you run a CBS Open on an ESPN show?
What?
Nothing.
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 You just go with it. Like,
You just
what are you gonna do?
You can't go back.
You can't go back, right?
That's hilarious.
What's done
Oh
is
my
done.
goodness.
What's done is done. That is hilarious. So, welcome
Nothing.
to Logan. Welcome to the Close Traffic Podcast, man. That's how we roll here.
Oh man, that's our
Appreciate y'all
mantra.
having me.
Straight
Roll
off
with
cuff.
That's how we do it, man. Where was I before I
Absolutely.
got sidetracked? Oh gosh, what the heck were we talking about? We had the expo. We touched on that. Man, where was I? Where were we going with that?
I mean, we could talk more airplane stories. I was a part of so many
man.
investigations, aircraft mishap investigations.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What's one that you could touch on vividly?
My very first one was it was actually, oddly enough, it was a NASA plane in Alaska that had I was terrified. But it was a NASA 707 that was flying in the Arctic Circle, based out of Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska, and they were doing atmospheric testing. It was a kind of I don't want to say a nothing job, but it was kind of like, here, we're going to take care of one of the old shuttle pilot's jobs. And so it was an old shuttle pilot that was piloting command. Long story short, they were taking off and they used the incorrect settings to depart. It was the middle of winter. It was an icy runway. And the aircraft slid off the runway, ran into an arresting gear, took out a couple DRMs.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the NTSB had to impound the aircraft for like a year and a half. The pilot never flew again. It was pretty bad. Another, I think my second accident was a C5 came in from Japan, and the nose gear didn't come down, and so it landed, kneeled. So basically, the rear landing gear was like all 25 of those suckers were going, and the fire department didn't want to foam the runway. They were like, it doesn't make sense right now, this and that. And so we're like, okay, well, it's on you. Like, we asked you to do your job. So anyway, it came in, and the pilot, we could hear the pilot open to us, and he was like, okay, we got to keep the flare as high as we can, as long as we can, and just kill as much energy and inertia as we can before getting that nose on the ground. And it scraped the, I think it was like 3,000 feet of the runway, but it wasn't super bad. And the plane ended up leaving like a month later. So,
wow.
But there's all sorts of crazy, engines on fire, planes getting shot out of the air in Iraq.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Do your procedures change as it relates to how you direct air traffic when you're deployed overseas and in a certain region versus here at home?
Yeah, very heavily. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. So in terms of, think about it this way, tactical approaches and departures. And in terms of what to do when, because when we're, if I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, or if I'm at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, no one's shooting at us. So I don't need contingency plans for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything is more leisurely, not leisurely, but more intentional versus oh shit, we got to pivot right. Oh shit, this airspace is closed, so we got to get all the airplanes out of there and get them over to this class. You know what I mean? So yes, it definitely is a completely new set of rules. And all the pilots want to do tactical arrivals, tactical departures, and not stay close to the ground.
Oh, I'm sure I don't blame them.
Longer than they need to, which I get. But we have so one of the things that got us into trouble a little bit was we had so many missions. So at Balad, our mission was, we were a fighter base. So we had, I think, something like 3 or 4 F-16 squadrons, a squadron of Apaches, a squadron of 130s, a squadron of, there was a secret squirrel corner. where they had a bunch of airplanes doing their own thing over there. And then there were some UAVs. We had Reapers. We had
good Lord.
Yeah, it was a bad base. And then we had our supply missions that were, C5s every day, C-17s every day. But some missions were contracted out to other companies, private companies. And one of the companies was AFTERBURNER, which is a Russian company, or sometimes it's like Russian / Ukrainian, which we got the AN-224, the largest plane in the world. Yeah, before RIP. Yeah, it broke my heart, man.
That was nuts.
Yeah, that broke my heart because I controlled it twice, and there's two.
Really?
Yeah, there's two of them, but yeah. Anyway,
I bet that thing is massive.
Like puts the C5 to shame, puts the 747 to shame, like everything. Yeah, it's beautiful. Like Google it.
That's crazy.
Even the B-52 puts the B-52 to shame. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so long story short, this third-party company would come in and bring. Given everything in the global political stage, like the U.S. military was absolutely hand in hand with the Russian government, like to do missions that we thought were too risky. So we would hire them to use their planes to bring in cargo and fly certain routes and do certain things for us. Very sterilized, if you will, but that sort of thing. So anyway, like one of the, we used to go out into the line and talk to the pilots, and like we didn't have anything. It's not like you can go to Applebee's or Chili's or something afterwards. Like, you're still hanging out on this military base. So like we used to go out and talk to them. We knew like most of the pilots. One of the planes in particular, like I went on and like the damn thing smelled like vodka and duct tape. Like it just like I'm not saying they were flying drunk, but I'm just saying I smelled vodka and duct tape. Like the thing was bubble gum and duct tape together. It was I want to say it's hilarious. AN-12 or AN. It was the prop one. Anyway, we I went home. The pilots took off, and unfortunately, God rest their souls, they got shot out of the sky that day because they couldn't take a tactical departure.
Oh, wait, they couldn't or they didn't?
They couldn't because it's a civilian, like it didn't have the power to do a tactical departure.
Gotcha.
Climb gradient, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it it wasn't super frequent that things like that happened, but like, man, it just.
And you had just talked to them.
I just talked to them, and that sticks with me. Like so many of the experiences stuck with me, but like that one,
that's tough.
It's rough, man.
It's a little tough.
That's tough.
So, but like Balad was a kind of a hot base. We got mortared.
Oh wow!
8 to 10 times a day. Small arms
fire.
Yeah, a day. The good news is their technology isn't very good. So like they would be trying to aim at our hospital or trying to aim at shooting the tower, but then they would like the mortar would land in a field. Or viewers, if you're at home, check out the CRAM. The CRAM is a piece of technology that the Navy owned that they put on Navy carriers and Navy fighter ships that has like, I think like 50 cal bullets, and it can track mortars out of the sky and shoot them out of the sky. It's computerized. It's super cool technology. The Navy had mobile versions for some of the Army and the Air Force bases, which I will say in my unofficial calculations, it worked about 30% of the time in shooting things out of the sky. A couple times it locked on to C-130s. And there was hearsay that like there was scrambling because it's computerized.
Right.
So, but it requires someone to actually say, yes, this is an actual target that you
Target.
need to light up. And they were like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Wow.
Where's the power button?
Yeah,
button.
So yeah, there was some close calls we heard with that system, but obviously nothing detrimental happened. But
That's that thing that shoots bullets that look like lasers, right?
yes,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
exactly.
Sure.
Keep in mind, when you please go take a look, watch that video, CRAMs at night, and keep in mind every third round has phosphorus. So those are the rounds that you see. There's 2 rounds that you don't see.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it is cool technology. It just sounds like
Yeah, Johnny, we can't hear you. What'd you say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
I
you.
got
you.
Okay. No, I was saying it doesn't even sound like a gun. It just
It's
Wow.
it's not. Oh, here's a cool. I just thought of one of my favorite projects that I worked on at Edwards. Sorry for the pivot. You guys have time for another quick story?
This is the Closed Traffic Podcast, man. All we do is pivot.
Closed traffic pivot right here.
The Air Force or Congress commissioned the Air Force to build an airplane, and it breaks my heart because we proved the concept. The concept was a 747 that could carry a laser and shoot missiles out of the sky. And the kind of the full vision of it is, how E3s kind of, they're always around, they're always patrolling, that sort of thing. Just like the NAOC, just like
Especially
Night
when
Watch.
the president's in town. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Just like some of those types of aircraft, the Congress was like, hey, we need next level technology. It took about 8 years, and I don't think it cost $1 billion, but it cost a lot of money. Check out airborne laser. We proved the concept. We as the Air Force were able to make it work with, it kind of reminds me of what I imagine the Blackbird used to be. So on the ground, it would piss chlorine and hydraulic fluid like none other on the ground. But once it got into the air, it worked like a dream. So basically, I hope you're at home, like looking at pictures of this thing, but there's a nose cone that spins around and it shoots the laser out of the nose cone of a 747-400 series aircraft. I think they bought it from like United or something like that. The entire fuselage, the entire fuselage is like chlorine and some other chemicals that I don't even remember, so I couldn't tell you if I did remember. I couldn't tell you if I did remember, but I don't remember. So like a ton of other chemicals, and it actually worked. That they were flying over Catalina Island, and they did some tests. They said, hey, okay, we're going to shoot a missile in Hawaii. And they made sure that obviously no air traffic was in the way and things like that.
They shot a missile from Catalina?
A laser.
To Hawaii?
And blew it out of the sky.
No way.
I saw the footage myself. And then as the crew on the plane thought that the test was over, but we knew on the ground that they were throwing them a curveball. They started to fly back, and they sent them by way of like Santa Barbara or something like that. Kind of a little bit like long around the way.
Long detour around,
They launched another missile in Alaska, and they were like, hey, lock it and kill it. And they did it. And
that is nuts.
It is absolutely insane. The concept worked. It costed a lot of money, but it worked.
Sure.
it cost
laser like, from here to Hawaii?
Yes. Yes.
Crazy.
That's wicked.
And Congress was like, okay, that's cool. We can't afford it, so it's in the budget right now. But honestly,
not a budget. Like, got it.
Like something stupid like $50,000 just to crank. And then once it was in the air, like $25,000 like an hour. So it was just super cost prohibitive.
What does an E3 cost to fly per hour?
That I don't know, but it's super old technology. It's 707 airframe. So that's like 70s technology. You know what I mean?
Right. I was just trying to see the difference. I mean, is it that? I mean, to have that sort of technology, like when you compare it to what it costs to fly some of these other Century-like equipment and technology today, is it that much? Exactly. Is it that much of a difference? Well, probably it is if Congress is saying we ain't got it. So, but that's not.
Yeah, we ain't got it.
That's nuts.
Please don't trust me. Look it up. Airborne laser. It existed, and it was glorious. Like that was one of the cooler projects that I was a part of. That
there's a whole video on it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It wouldn't surprise me though, tinfoil hat Johnny, for a moment, that technology or that concept wasn't applied in some other way of some.
Oh, for sure.
Oh man, there's
like this is stuff we know about. And earlier we were talking, Johnny, about
that's public information.
Yeah, that's public information. Earlier we were talking about space missions and some of the stuff Logan got to do with that. And we were talking about the fact that like all of that technology that was used for those earlier space missions were like 70s technologies. Right. To be able to bring an aircraft back into atmosphere. And Charlie had mentioned the very little margin for error that the computer was able to calculate to bring these astronauts back home with 70s technology. Can you imagine what we have today that we don't know about?
Oh man, I mean, even in the private sector, look at SpaceX. I mean, and Boeing. I mean, they're saying it's sending astronauts into Atmo and back with little to no human intervention. I mean, it's all automated.
That's crazy.
Now, aside from the issue they're having now, I think there's couple astronauts stranded up.
Yeah, they said that before this is stuck up at the space station right now. Can't get home. We won't talk about that one.
Yes, or Boeing's problems with other things. The 787. We won't talk about that.
No.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pay them a little extra on the per diem. They'll be all right.
Michelin needs to get some better cars, is what I'm thinking.
Hey man, when they come back, tell them to just hit concur and send them expenses. And call it good.
Nice.
Call it good, man.
Call it slick. Yep.
Oh man, that is awesome, Logan. That
too cool.
Wow. I've got a lot of research to do after this.
Man, I'm telling you, you just tied up my whole daggone weekend.
I have like five Google tabs open with all of this stuff. Like I have to go and look up.
I got stories for days, man. We can do this. But no, I just love a lot of people hated Edwards, but I loved it because it was like the cutting edge of the coolest shit in the world.
Yeah.
Like I was a part of the crew that did the first electric plane that flew for 24 hours. It was private sector.
Oh,
but wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like things that have never been done before. So I'm super fortunate, but I just love the technology. Like, there was one thing that they did where NASA with like some private companies, they had dang it, what's it called? They had a competition, that's the word, where they were like, hey, private sector, we'll give you a quarter, $250,000 or something. I don't remember exactly, but to try to build an elevator that goes to space.
What?
Right. It's
wow.
Yeah, so like people were using like thrusters on like telephone booths to try to get to like if you could prove the concept to go like 3,000 feet, like they would give you the budget to try to keep going. So it's
try to keep going. Wow.
Yeah, like some of the insane money that the private sector is playing with is just, it's insane. Like even you're talking about SpaceX and stuff, like the how much does SpaceX get to get the International Space Station? Like, did they just got the contract to blow it out of space?
Some asinine amount. I know they're providing me internet service, so shout out.
Is it? Do you like it?
Amazing, a game changer for where I'm at. Yeah,
Really? Because we were considering it.
Yeah, I'm getting like 200 megs down now consistently. Yeah,
$843 million.
$843 million to blow the space station out of the sky.
That's an on-time orbit of Earth. Wow.
Good God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
I think I could retire with a quarter of that.
A quarter?
Not even a quarter.
Man, I just need 1%, Charlie. You kidding me?
Hey, leave me alone.
Oh, now, Mike, you'd have to at least get 2 now. Come on.
I mean, I gotta get
if we're gonna go, son, we're gonna go big.
I gotta get this. You're right. I gotta get the Cirrus. Watch that.
Yeah.
I gotta get the G7.
28% of that.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, wait on Aero Atlanta.
Get in line, Mike. Get in line, brother.
I know, man. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Logan, man, this has been great. This has been phenomenal. It's there's definitely a lot that we need to unpack here based on the stuff that you've given us and the audience to go back and research. There will be a quiz, guys, the next time Logan returns to the show, so please go and do your homework, especially Johnny.
How many jobs have I done?
How many jobs has Logan done? What was his greatest accomplishment? Really cool. As we depart here, definitely, stay in contact. We'd love to hear more about how AfterburnerX is progressing. Your move to Vegas, and once you get that stood up and ready for us to come and check it out, man, we'll be there. We will certainly be there, and encourage others in the area, or when you're just coming to Vegas, to go and visit and have a good time. Make sure that's part of your itinerary, because that sounds promising. It looks really cool, and there isn't a lot of stuff out there like that today.
Absolutely,
very few, if any, actually.
Yeah, very few
for sure.
Cool.
Well, appreciate you guys having me, and love what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Keep adding production elements. I'm looking. I'm watching.
Logan, Charlie, you hear that? You hear that, Charlie?
Hey, my broom's over here. I'm out. Y'all need some water? No.
Somebody call Timu.
Cool, man. Charlie, Johnny, any parting words for the folks?
Not for me. I'm good. Everybody stay safe out there.
Yeah, man. Guys, keep the blue side up, and do your best to stay home and not be out running errands like myself. But aside from that, keep the blue side up.
Keep the blue side up, folks, man. I'll run the right outro now. We'll see ya. Take care.